The Walt Disney Company has lost 700,000 subscribers domestically on Disney Plus, and they must fix something as fast as they possibly can. They're turning to your friendly Spider-Man. Today we'll tell you whether or not the finale for your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man can possibly save the subscribers who are going away from the House of Mouse faster than they can count. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and yes, we can still say that here on the Pro Channel. Why? Well, because based is the pace car of the culture that we love to cover each and every day. Folks, as we get underway, consider clicking that like button, and we'll tell you whether or not our spidey senses are tingling when it comes to whether or not Disney will be intermingling with even more subscribers or losing them faster than they can possibly count today. Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man finale came out tonight. It is Disney's attempt to try to stop the bleeding and hold on to subscribers. 700,000 subscribers lost in the last quarter alone. Add in the internationals and you get over the million mark. They want to stop that from happening again, but it does not seem it's going to, that it's going to play out the way they want and get a win. No, instead, they're depending on this cartoon to carry them across the finish line. Folks, last time we were here, we gave it a pretty good review. I don't know what's going to happen now, but we'll start with Lauren. We'll go to Kevin next. Lauren, we've seen the finale. We saw the last episodes. What say you about Peter Parker and, more Strange?
I'm feeling the same way that I felt about the show pretty much through the whole thing. I liked it. The first episode that dropped tonight, I did notice some animation issues. I feel like they were maybe pushing some of the fight choreography maybe as far as they could go. I don't know if that was an artistic choice or if they're running up against something like frame rate issues with what they're trying to animate. But that was the only real knock I had against it. I thought that it looked better in the second episode, but that was smaller fights, and I think that may have contributed to that. Other than that, I like this show. I'm kind of shocked that I did. I was sure this was going to be a show that I hated. But tonally, I felt that they hit the right marks. I liked all of the characters, and I didn't expect that. I even like the art style. Now, I can understand why some people might not. I think they're going for a deliberately kind of a retro look, and they were adapting some of Jack Kirby's style in some of this, which is kind of an interesting choice. I did like that at each episode you also got a adaptation of an old Spider-Man cover, which I thought was kind of a nice thing. It's not the best thing you're ever going to watch. It's certainly not, I think, going to drive people to Disney Plus, but as an extra thing that's there to watch, I'd watch the second season of this voluntarily because I liked the first season, and that's the highest praise that I think I've given anything Disney in quite some time.
Well, it's obvious to me at this point that there is no doubt you're getting a second season, and probably that's part of the budget on this thing anyway. Kevin, can you explain the time loop thing to me? Because the final episode, and I don't think we're spoiling anything here, but the final episode's all about how it takes us back to the first episode, but that kind of takes away the tension because I don't know if all of this universe is just a bunch of time loops everywhere that we don't know about. Like, I need this explained a little bit more than, hey, look at this nifty thing we figured out. We're Quantum Leap now. Woohoo! Where's Ziggy going to take us next? Kevin, explain it to me, please.
I guess it was the grandfather, the grandfather of the bootstrap paradox. He could not have gotten bitten by the spider if Norman didn't facilitate the opportunity for the spider to go through the portal and fight the symbiote demon god thing with Doctor Strange. At first, I thought that they were saying that the Doctor Strange we saw in the first episode was the MCU Doctor Strange, and that
he looks like it, he sounds like it, and sometimes when he describes what's going on, I'm like, well, wait a minute. I thought we were in a different MCU, but everything that's happening in this world is the same as the MCU, except for Peter and where we are now.
Yeah. So I thought it was a neat way to kind of put a bow on the story. I loved these last two episodes. I love what they're doing with Norman. It's something that we haven't seen done in a really long time. A lot of the cartoons and the movies forgot that Norman was around for a long time before the Green Goblin became a thing, and the Green Goblin wasn't this megamaniacal maniac. He wanted to be a crime boss and was competing with Dr. Octopus, who was the master planner for control over for all the gangs, and they had a rivalry that they didn't know that they had. So I thought this was awesome. The Norman, again, juxtaposed to Peter's relationship with Tony and the MCU proper, they have done a phenomenal job. I don't have a bad thing to say about this show other than the first 2 episodes. I really enjoyed the fights. I really enjoyed Tombstone's arc. The only complaint I can say is that when you remove Tombstone from Robbie Robertson, you kind of lose a little bit of the story, because there's a reason why he is the way he is. But they did a great job with it. I'm very excited to see what they do in the second season. I thought tonally they nailed it. This was everything you could want in a Spider-Man show. I even love the quirky Steve Ditko-esque art that they tried to pull off. They got it. They nailed it better as the season went on, and I commend them for sticking to it. I even thought that they probably got a little extra money towards the end, because to me it looked a little bit better, other than during the big fight with Scorpion. You see there's a little hiccup there, but again, they were being very ambitious, and I will never deduct points for ambition. I loved it. I hope that we get more of this when they decide to bring it back.
Can we talk about? I loved the jailhouse talk between Doc Ock and Norman. It's like they're so petty, and they're just so. And it's like, this is what makes great villains, is that they just can't get past their egos, and I loved that part.
Oh, right. And there was a little thing during the Scorpion fight where Hobby comes out with the not Hobby, when Lonnie comes out with the cardiac stick. I'm like, oh my gosh, we got a cardiac reference. Who other than people who were reading Amazing Spider-Man back then, he would even know who cardiac is? I'm like, this is awesome. I'm geeking out.
Yeah, I mean, despite the fact that I think those first 2 episodes gave us some vibes like this is not going to go in the right direction, this is when you can tell these people are fans of the source material. They actually did care about it. They paid attention to it. They paid homage to it. It's not a direct translation, but they get it. And that's all you can ask for. It's like you're never going to recreate the original, but that's not what they're trying to do. And I loved the fact that there were characters that I thought I was going to hate. Nope. Every one of them worked for me. And that really shocked me. I loved it.
This was the best thing that Disney Plus has given us since X-Men 97. And again, I put Skeleton Crew in a different category because I adored that show. But this was great. This was great TV, but unfortunately, I don't think it's strong enough to stop the bleeding. Disney has a lot of work to do in other areas. This Spider-Man show should have been a very shiny cherry on top of a glorious sundae, and all it really is a tiny little circle Band-Aid on a huge gaping wound.
It would be nice if it was somehow attached to what's going on with X-Men 97. I know that's exceedingly difficult, but because it's not, it's isolated completely. And so this is the beginning of some new universe. And then you got to wonder, like, is this animated version of Spider-Man going to show up at some point, in the multiverse of the MCU for like a 5-second cameo where they're like, hey, look, remember, we did a Disney Plus show. Lauren says he loved every single character. Do you see any flaws with this as we reached the end? We were pretty rough with this cartoon on the first 2 episodes. We were pretty darn rough with it. And since then, they got their act together. Did they have a good final act?
I am a very, very happy man. I'll tell you that right now. I was like a 12-year-old at Toys R Us or in a comic book store. I think they thread the needle. In fact, I'm sure some people are raising their eyes in the crowd in the comments where it's like starting up like a conspiracy here. I'm like, man, they hated this show. Did the Disney lawyers get to them or something? But no, it's like you think you're watching like a like one of those memes where you think everything's going to end in disaster, and then the guy just does the most incredible thing and shocks the audience behind them. it's awesome. They clearly have passion and love for the source material. However, it's as you were asking, it's not perfect because those first 2 episodes really leave a bad taste. This show could have been the diamond in the rough of everything going on in the MCU right now, because we've seen before one show, whether it's connected to anything or not, can break out as an all-time classic. We saw this with Spectacular Spider-Man nearly a decade, or actually nearly 2 decades ago now. But the thing is with this show is, since it got painted in, I hate to use the word here, but since it got painted in the woke area of the woke era of the MCU, a lot of people who would have given this show a chance already gave up on it. And now, as a result, the people who stuck around are doing their best to vouch for, hey, this show's good, but I think it's already lost its chance. I know towards the end of one of these episodes where they were having like the big street fight, the big climax of the season, even though it was in the episode prior, like the big thing, that event gang fight that the whole season was building up to. And it looks like it was animated about as well as a Game Boy Advance game. Like that fight, oh boy, that was rough. That was really rough. And it scares me in the future because I'm like, I know this show isn't going to get much more budget. If it has budget, it was probably already greenlit in a package deal. They probably greenlit like 2 seasons. And as a Spider-Man fan, I'm already inevitably expecting the disappointing cliffhanger the show is going to end on next season. Like every Spider-Man show. I don't know why that's a trend. But I gotta say, while in the now, I am very happy and I am completely shocked that they thread the needle. I was trashing this thing at the beginning, but I can't say, aside from some of the style choices, like this was a very, very well done cartoon, and they should really, they deserve respect for what they did. They should pat themselves on the back. I will call balls and strikes, and the reality is, it's a good Spider-Man show. Is this good Spectacular Spider-Man? I don't think so, because that show still got a lot of the designs and the little things right, and I feel like this show has some, I hate to say, ideology that could hold it back in future to go full on comic accuracy, unfortunately. But I hope they continue to give these creators freedom to tell the stories they want to tell, as opposed to, we need this in the first episode for this marketing advertising reason or this agenda. I want to see what's on the screen because this is what the creators want to do. And it seems like what the creators want to do is going to sell a lot better than a lot of the cartoons out for kids these days, because there's fun ideas. Everything with Scorpion, Goblin, everything they're setting up for Doc Ock and Green Goblin one day. I think there's a good show to be had here. I just really hope it lasts more than 2 seasons, because I don't think this is the savior that Disney Plus needs.
Nolan brings up a great point, and that is, this show kind of looks to me like somebody said to themselves, how do we get this approved at Disney? And they ran it through the DEI lens, right, of Disney. And that's how you get the character designs. That's how you get the crazy stuff. And then they said, well, what if we took these designs that make everybody think, oh, this is going to be ultra woke, and then we just tell a good Spider-Man show now that we actually get to make one? And I'm not here to tell you it's great. I'm not here to tell you it's the best. But I'm here to tell you that if you look at those character designs and you look at the first 2 episodes, they're not aligned with what the show turns out to be. And I would also say that if we were always negative about every single thing that Disney does, then we would be very boring and predictable, and everybody out there would say, well, they're just the ideological haters. Balls and strikes is what we do. Vash, you watched more than a few episodes. What say you when it comes to the final 2?
Yeah, I actually did like the finale quite a bit. I do agree with the sentiments on this panel, though, that there were some fight scenes in prior episodes that just didn't nail it, and that was always one of its strong suits, which was really bizarre. But I think Lauren's point is correct. Smaller scale fights, I think, worked in its favor. The animation style I just never grew on me. I just could never get over a hump right there. So
it's
I think
Aunt May's face, Vash. It's Aunt May's face. That thing is the stuff of nightmares still.
I do agree. I don't think it quite worked.
It's like somebody pancaked a Cupid doll.
Yeah, it's just I didn't like it, and I think that really, when you're staring at this thing for as long as you are, it really has to be nailed down in order to get you to come back for more. And I just don't think it really took off in that way. Yeah, those first 2 episodes, I think really doomed it. And people who may have been interested in it maybe fell off. And that's a real shame, because I think there was good storytelling to be had. It just was let down by the quality of the material. I am getting that it might have been approved through season 3. I'm not quite sure about this right here. This Why Movie Podcast. Apparently, Brett Winterbaum is maybe suggesting that that this show being approved through season 3 might be a thing. We'll have to see on that. But my big problem, I guess, with this show overall is that, look, this thing was. I mean, I was trying to do some research onto how much Disney may have paid for a show like this. I think the most analogous is probably the What If series of episodes there, and those come out to be anywhere between $5 million to $10 million per episode. If this was constructed in a similar fashion, it's probably going to be $5 million an episode, roughly, if I'm guesstimating right here. 5 times 10, that's about $50 million. Is that necessarily the best place to put that kind of money? I'm not quite sure. And here's my thing. With these Disney Plus animated series you're going up against some very stiff competition. This is why I had this up before, because if you look at the realm of animation, especially series like this, and when you bring anime and stuff like that, you're going up against some very, very stiff competition. An anime series is probably anywhere between $500,000 to $1 million an episode right here, so considerably less. And if you look at this Solo Leveling right here, season 2, well, it broke the internet. It took down not 1 but 2 anime streaming sites. That's just the incredible power of something like that has a good story to tell, and people are very, very excited to actually see. Would Disney Plus ever accomplish such a feat? I don't think so. And if they are planning to do that with these kind of animated series, they're not going to get there.
Vash, you say breaking the internet. I want to break the internet right now by giving Lauren the opportunity to give his score for the entire series of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Lauren, what give it says you?
For me, it's an 8. I think that it's still got some room to grow and improve. I don't want to be overly praising it. I think that in the first couple episodes, I did give it a higher score than it deserved, but I think that it made up for it with every episode after that. The show got progressively better for me.
And Lauren, I know you've got to go. Thank you for being here, sir. And you are a fan favorite. Bobblehead is on the way to the Pro Store any day now. See you soon, Lauren.
Just make sure you glue the neck. See you guys.
All right, Kevin, it's up to you. What's the score you're going to give to Spider-Man?
All right. I will be honest, I did not want to like this show. I detest race swapping. Minorities, Black people do not want to have to shop for superheroes at the Salvation Army store.
Yeah, the hand-me-down heroes are not the way to go.
Yeah, so it is. I find it extremely irksome. But that said, if anybody who's picked up a Spider-Man comic in the last 20 years has had the displeasure of suffering through 25 pages of garbage, watching this show brought me back to being a kid, just enjoying my 90s Spider-Man. So I gave the last 2 episodes a 9. I'll give the show overall an 8.
Wow, that is another 8. Well, I'm elated to hear that you enjoyed it enough to give it an 8. All right, well, let's continue on, shall we? Nolan, it's now your turn. What score shall we give?
Overall, I'm going to give, I'm going to forgive this show for the sins of the first 2 episodes, because you know what? That very last episode where they tied it into the first one, a lot of stuff I saw is really gimmicky and very advertising focused for other products that were out there with, the Doctor Strange cameo and all that. They kind of made it work after the execs turned the other way. So I'm going to look the other way on that too. I'm going to give this show an 8.5. It doesn't even come close to the same leagues of Spectacular Spider-Man. And as someone who grew up with and lives and dies on the amazingness of the 90s Spider-Man cartoon with its amazing soundtrack, memorable lines, I'll be real, people might get mad at me. It had some writing and some pacing issues, but I loved it with all my heart. This is probably the best written Spider-Man show since Spectacular, and that is really a lot of the core and the love of Spider-Man. I don't know if it beats the 90s show for me due to a nostalgia level, or it can't be spectacular, but this is a well, competently made show that I thought I was going to suffer through the whole thing. It was a good time, and I will be the first to admit I was wrong. Good job, Marvel. You got to win.
Vash, it's a win at a time they need it because, well, Brave New World isn't doing it. Are your spidey senses tingling? What score shall you give it?
I'm going to have to go a little bit lower, 6.5. I'm sorry. I do have to apologize for being the downer, but this show deserved to be better, and there's no reason why it couldn't be better. And that's what's frustrating about it, because it's like, it's right there, you know, it doesn't have to be as bad as it is. It's just the animation. It's just really, really a killer thing. And yeah, maybe this was an attempt to get this show approved with having, made the casting decisions that it had. Okay, probably, maybe, fair. But it's still, it would be a hard sell for me to say to somebody, hey, you got to watch this show. That's the thing that's kind of holding me back right there. And one last question for the panel right here. Are you excited about a season 2, and would you go watch it immediately when it comes out?
Please use it as a time to get some of the designs a little more right. I would love to see what they do with this iteration of Norman Osborn in the Goblin suit. I mean, this is probably the best since the Maguire film, and arguably even the comics, because part of what made the night Gwen Stacy died so memorable in the Spider-Man comics was the buildup for years of Spider-Man and the Green Goblin, how much those two had been at odds for so long. This is the most I have ever seen a cartoon, or even including the movies, build to Goblin versus Spider-Man and the role he has had in Peter's life. If they finally go out and we get to see Norman flip and go evil, how much that could completely warp Peter's world, that's going to be amazing. And they've already done subtle things with Doc Ock. As long as all the people with their agendas stay away, all the execs don't tamper to turn this into an MCU commercial, because it could become that. They left about 12 different plot possibilities of what we could see next season. It's going to be fun. I just don't want it to become like the MCU and just become a commercial the whole time. But if not, I'm all for season 2.
Well said. I'm going to assess it this way. I think it has potential. I think that it's watchable for season 2, but there are some quips and quibbles that I have to put out there, and one of them has to do with the quips. Spider-Man's supposed to be funny. This Peter Parker is seldomly funny or clever when he's fighting, and that's a big part of being Spider-Man. Also, the designs are a little bit of a struggle, and the animations for the mouths are, well, uncanny valley for me. That said, it's a decently fun time. I'm not sure what I think about the lore building for this one with time loops and all of that, but at least they seem to get the character building right. And I think that's actually where we're coming down on a positive note, is that we're happy to be out of whatever the woke era was. These characters actually progressed. They actually had journeys. They actually learned things. And that's a positive, but it's not enough for me to heap upon it the massive accolades that some might want. Then again, it's a place to begin. And so I give this a 7. There is big time room for a season 2, and I'm willing to watch it. I think, folks, with you, we'll be there again next season to tell you what happens, and it may give Marvel time to reconfigure how it is they're going to bring back a line into not only the box office, but to their streaming shows. Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man is a decent dipping in of the toes, but we'll see what happens in season 2. Running the full horn of the scores on this panel, including Lorne, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man season 1 review score, 7.6 out of 10 for season 1. Helping Hollywood produce a product that you want to consume, that's what we do each and every day, folks. And this time, it's time to, well, say goodbye. We know, but don't cry. No, for we will have more videos on the way. We love to bring those videos and that information. And by the way, if you'd like even more, consider going to the Patreon page. It's www.patreon.com/WDW Pro. It's where we put out stuff exclusively there that we simply can't put out in other places for whatever reason, be it because it's too spicy or because, well, perhaps we're working to corroborate it. But you can find out things early and first over there. Folks, we surely have had a great time spending time with you. Consider clicking that like button, share, subscribe, click it, and stick it to those pesky algorithms. It is the notification bell. and drop a comment right on down below. Until the next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Why listen to music made by people and companies who really don't like you? Check out Vacation Radio today and prepare for all new content made by the people behind the WDW Pro Channel. It's the place you need for all the music. That should be fun. Hundreds of songs, every genre you can imagine. Listen live on YouTube and enjoy a set list that's always sunny. It's Vacation Radio. What are you waiting for? Every WDW Pro video has a link to Vacation Radio in the video description. Try it out and subscribe today.